Ingrid Larsdotter's shop sat on the corner of Hennepin and 24th, a crooked roofed brick building squeezed between a kombucha bar and an acupuncture studio. The hand painted sign above the fogged window read Crystal Minushnota, Custom Snow Globes, Custom Worlds. Below, in smaller blue letters, she had added, Weather is what we make of it. Most passers-by assumed that was just whimsical marketing, same as the knitted cloud garlands and the paper-cut snowflakes dangling inside. Yet when Ingrid placed the final pane of curved glass over one of her globes, the sky above Minneapolis often echoed whatever lay encased. A miniature stone bridge dusted with glittering frost might summon a gentle postcard snow. A swirl of saffron maple leaves frozen mid-spiral could coax an unexpectedly warm October breeze. The magic had belonged to her family, for generations of Norwegian artisans. Only Ingrid still practiced it, and only she knew its scope could stretch 15 city miles in every direction, tugging at the jet stream like a harp string. Every night, as the After Hymns warehouse haters hummed and the solder cooled on her jeweler's bench, Ingrid tuned the store's radio to channel 11. She liked to pretend the voice that filled the quiet shop wasn't speaking to the entire metro area, but only to her. Gabe Morales here with your Acupuss forecast, the velvet baritone would announce. Mild temperatures hold through Wednesday before a possible burst of lake effect snow early Thursday. Keep those shovels handy, folks. Gabe's laughter warm, self-teasing would follow if a graphic froze or the station dog Nimbus trotted across the green screen. Ingrid smiled every single time. She liked his flannel suits, the way he rolled his sleeves when speaking of dew points, the soft empathy in his eyes whenever he warned viewers to check on elderly neighbors. She had once bumped into him outside a downtown coffee shop and spent the following 3 nights replaying the 5-second encounter, certain her cheeks had turned the color of ripe lingonberries. From that moment, the weather inside her globes became dangerously entangled with her feelings for the man who forecast the skies. It started with the North Loop Street Fair in early April. Gabe had spent the week hyping the first true spring weekend. Sunshine, a high near 60, enough warmth that Minnesotans could walk around in short sleeves just to prove the possibility. Ingrid felt buoyant each time she heard his forecast. She sculpted a globe featuring a tiny gazebo ringed with crocuses, sunlight trapped in shards of yellow mica. As she sealed the base, hope bloomed in her chest. Maybe she would attend the fair and, by sheer coincidence, of course, run into Gabe. 2 days later, the forecast soared 10 degrees higher than any model predicted. The National Weather Service issued an unseasonal heat advisory for parts of Hennepin County. Gabe, live from the fair, lifted his sunglasses and squinted at the unblemished sky. I don't know where those clouds vanished to, but I won't complain. Mirage-like heat waves shimmered behind him. Ingrid, sweating at her outdoor booth, pretended to be as surprised as everyone else, but she recognized the golden mica glints on the camera's lens, sunlight with her fingerprint on it. That night she vowed to be more careful. Emotions were messy weather machines. Keeping that promise grew harder in summer. When Gabe's station paired him with the new Anchor Glamour's unflappable Selena Chu, Ingrid's guts twisted. The two of them laughed a lot on air. Whenever Selena touched Gabe's arm, Ingrid felt an involuntary current crackle down her own skin, and gusts began rattling window frames citywide. She could not silence the jealousy any more than she could still the air. Late July, after seeing a photo of Gabe and Selena judging a charity pie contest, Ingrid stayed up until dawn, assembling a globe of PV Plaza during a torrential storm. She carved minuscule trees bent under invisible gales, then filled the glass with charcoal glitter and shavings that mimicked sleet. She never meant for the real sky to echo it. She merely needed to bleed her feelings somewhere safe. The next afternoon, Gabe interrupted regular programming. Fast-moving squall line headed right for downtown, he warned, brow furrowed with professional concern. We're tracking wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. The street behind him, visible through the studio windows, darkened to the precise smoky gray Ingrid had mixed for her globe. Tree branches lashed stoplights. A billboard for Selena's upcoming segment ripped free and cartwheeled across the midtown interchange. Ingrid ducked beneath her workbench, hands stuffed in her cardigan pockets to hide their trembling. She had caused damage before minor drizzle on an August parade, a foot of snow that canceled high school finals, but nothing this dramatic. A billboard could have killed someone. Stop it, she whispered to herself. Stop being selfish. But the storm inside her and above the city raged another hour. After the squall dissipated, Gabe reappeared on screen, wet hair plastered, broadcasting live from Nicollet Mall. Power lines are down, but emergency crews are on it, he reported. Miraculously, nobody's hurt. Relief collapsed Ingrid's knees. She chose not to make globes for several weeks after that. She restricted herself to repairs, adding epoxy where figurines had cracked, dusting quarter-sized auroras with caution. She listened to Gabe in the evenings, but forced her mind blank whenever Selena teased him about date nights or late baseball games. Ingrid would not allow herself or the weather to lose control again. Yet magic, like momentum, prefers motion. And love, once acknowledged, resists confinement. In early December, Minneapolis buzzed with anticipation for the Holodazzle Parade. Gabe's station planned wall-to-wall coverage. Selena would host the tree lighting. Gabe, wearing a Santa hat, would supply real-time weather updates. The long-range models promised perfect parade conditions, 28 degrees, light wind, flurries after midnight. Ingrid told herself that would suffice. Still walking home through powdery snow, she imagined what gifts she might dare send Gabe. A scarf? Too intimate. A coffee card? Too impersonal. A custom snow globe? Well, that was both her specialty and her curse. She stayed at the shop past midnight on December 20th, sculpting a news studio no bigger than a Hershey's Kiss. Desk, tiny chroma screen, an even tinier St. Bernard puppy perched on the anchor's chair, Nimbus, of course. Transparent resin hearts floated above like faint soap bubbles. At the center stood a mail stamp-sized Gabe, one hand lifted toward an invisible green screen. Ingrid anchored the figurine with a fleck of hematite so it remained upright, no matter how the globe shook. When she filled the sphere, she used iridescent white snow and a pinch of crimson glitter love disguised as holiday cheer. She sealed the base, attached a silver plaque that read, "For forecasts that make winter warmer," and placed the globe on the display shelf behind the register, telling herself she only needed to gather courage to deliver it. Tomorrow. Maybe. Morning came, and with it a forecast nobody predicted. Gabe's baffled voice crackled through the shop radio. "We're seeing a localized pattern downtown. Radar shows a heart-shaped band of higher reflectivity. That would be snowfall. Directly over Loring Park." His co-anchor laughed, assuming a data glitch, but Gabe sounded fascinated. "No, look, it's holding shape and drifting northeast as a unit. Like Cupid's own little snow cloud." Ingrid nearly dropped her coffee. She hadn't delivered the globe. It still sat on the shelf, but apparently her feelings had leaked through anyway, following the path of least resistance. An unfinished gift. That afternoon, Gabe posted a photo on social media, himself outside the Channel 11 building, arms upraised as heart-shaped flakes twirled around. "Mother Nature's got jokes," he captioned. "Never seen radar art like this." The post racked up likes and quizzical comments. Ingrid recognized the glitter's crimson twinkle in the airborne snow. Her heart hammered. The magic was scaling beyond glass boundaries. By evening, Gabe had turned amateur detective. On air, he said, "Listeners, I ran the numbers. The last 3 Outlier events, the April heat spike, July microburst, today's love clue, occurred within 1 mile of Hennepin and 24th. Somebody over there is either the luckiest or unluckiest charm in Minnesota." Her phone buzzed. An email from Crystal, Minnesota's website contact form. Subject line, "Weather wonders?" Sender Gabriel M. Hi there. I'm looking into unusual microclimates downtown. Your shop's right in the epicenter. Any chance I could swing by tomorrow morning to chat? Gabe Morales. Ingrid read the message 6 times. Her first impulse was to delete it, board her windows, flee to Duluth. Her second was to hit reply. Yes, please come. I'll brew Nordic coffee and confess everything. Instead, she paced the showroom until her anxiety crystallized into resolve. She would meet him. She would pretend ignorance, and she would keep her heart, her storm, on lockdown. Gabe arrived next morning precisely at 9, wearing a charcoal peacoat flecked with melting hearts of remnant snow. Nimbus bounced beside him, tail painting wet arcs on the floorboards. Up close, Gabe's eyes were deeper brown than they appeared on television, warm enough to thaw ice on windshield glass. Thanks for making time, he said, offering a mittened handshake. Beautiful shop, smells like pine and something sparkly. That would be mica dust, Ingrid replied, pulse galloping. It sticks to everything. She poured coffee, answered Gabe's questions about glycerin ratios and how she cut balsa wood trees. When he asked whether temperature changes during globe production could influence local weather, she laughed gently. If artisans had that power, outdoor weddings would never get rained out. But Gabe lingered near the gift globe on the shelf, tilting it so crimson glitter spiraled across miniature Gabe's shoulders. This one looks suspiciously familiar, he said. You a fan of Channel 11? Her cheeks warmed. I appreciate good meteorology. She nudged the globe toward the back row. That one's not finished. Nimbus nosed into Ingrid's palm as if encouraging honesty. They spoke another half hour, Gabe taking notes, Ingrid deflecting. When he finally thanked her and headed out, he paused on the threshold. Strange thing, he said, gaze sliding toward the sky beyond the window. Forecast called for clear skies, but now I see flurries with little red sparkles. Exactly like inside that globe. Ingrid clamped her jaw. She had to fix this before he matched the final dots. That night she reopened the globe, intending to replace the crimson glitter with plain silver, to unsolder the figurine that looked like him. But the hematite anchor had fused. The globe resisted dismantling as if magic itself refused amputation. Around midnight, Ingrid's frustration and terror melded into anguish. She pictured Gabe charmed by Selena beneath studio lights, and a shard of loneliness slit her resolve. Tears dripped onto the workbench. Outside, wind howled. Temperature plunged 10 degrees in as many minutes. Minneapolis street sensors flashed winter storm warnings, though none had been predicted. Snow burst from low clouds like feathers from a split pillow. Ingrid lifted her head, realizing she had lost control again. If the feelings driving this storm were heartbreak, it could last for days and freeze the city. Gabe, meanwhile, was inside the Channel 11 control room, trying to decipher the anomaly. Models blew up, the producer shouted. Visibility's collapsing. Selena suggested dramatic rooftop shots. Gabe overruled her. We need ground coverage. Warn people to stay off roads. While interns readied the live truck, he stared at the radar loops, observing a vortex tightening over Hennepin and 24th. The bullseye pulsed red. An epicenter of heat? No, of emotion. Because that corner felt personal. Memory flickered, the smell of pine and mica dust, the globe with hearts. Ingrid's tremulous smile. Possible notions rushed in like lake wind. Wild as they sounded, they fit the pattern better than any mesoscale theory. He grabbed Nimbus's leash and bolted into the storm. Car tires spun, traffic lights swung horizontally, yet the deeper Gabe trekked toward Ingrid's shop, the calmer the wind felt, as if the storm granted him passage. Tree limbs bowed to create a corridor. Snow plastered his eyelashes but melted instantly, revealing flashes of crimson glitter. Crystal Mini Snowda glowed amber within the whiteout. Gabe pushed inside, bell tinkling. Ingrid knelt by a half-packed crate, tears silvering her cheeks. I was hoping you'd stay home where it's safe, she whispered. Gabe pulled off his soaked hat. I realize safety isn't the point. Truth is. He glanced at the swirling flakes beyond the glass. I think you're the truth. Ingrid sank onto a stool. Words tumbled out. The family craft, the April heat wave, the jealous July squall. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I tried to stop after the billboard, but feelings leak. Tonight's blizzard, her voice cracked. That's me scared you'll never look at me the way I look at you. Gabe inhaled, chest rising like a barometer before fair weather. So the storm is your heart, he stepped closer. Then let me stand in it. He cupped her cold hands. For a moment, the entire building fell silent, snowflakes hanging midair as though gravity deferred to something stronger. Ingrid's pulse thrummed. The wind outside slackened. Tell me how we fix the weather together, Gabe said. I'm good with models, but I've never modeled feelings. Ingrid motioned to the workbench. We counter a storm by crafting its opposite. But I can't do it alone. The magic reflects what's true inside the globe maker. If my emotions are tangled, the weather follows. Then let's untangle. Gabe squeezed her fingers, broadcasting warmth straight down her veins. Nimbus barked agreement. They rummaged through miniature props. Ingrid selected a tiny bridge, identical to stone arch, symbolizing connection. Gabe suggested painting two figures, not one standing in the middle, hands joined. Ingrid sculpted them in wax, a bundled woman with a knit cap, a man in a plaid scarf holding an anemometer like a bouquet. Instead of snow, they filled the globe with translucent beads resembling raindrops and specks of powdered sunstone. Balance, water, and light. Before sealing, Ingrid looked up. One last ingredient, intention. Gabe leaned, breathing 4 small words into the glass hollow. Let love be weather. His breath fogged the interior briefly, leaving a trace of warmth on the tiny couple. Ingrid soldered the dome shut. The globe's contents shimmered, then settled. Outside, the blizzard tapered to a hush. Flakes metamorphosed into soft, luminous drizzle that glazed branches without freezing. Streetlights caught the droplets, radiating prisms across the sleepy city. Gabe's phone buzzed spree-like, colleagues exclaiming the storm's abrupt shift. He ignored it. Ingrid lifted the completed globe between them. Temporary equilibrium, she said. We'll need to keep tending it. Feelings change. Forecasts, too, Gabe replied, smiling. Good thing we're in the business. Dawn laid rose-gold stripes across the melting snow. The city would wake to a story of meteorological whiplash nobody could fully explain. Yet roadways would clear, parade floats would roll, and parents would marvel at the softest glaze of ice reflecting sunrise like Easter eggs in December. Inside the shop, Ingrid brewed fresh coffee. Gabe phoned the newsroom, promising a live segment soon. I've got the scoop, he told his producer, gaze locked on Ingrid, straight from the source. When he ended the call, Ingrid raised an eyebrow. What exactly will you tell them? The truth, he said. That weather is personal more than we ever knew. That caring for each other can change the atmosphere. He paused, then added, I might also mention a remarkable artisan who deserves every custom order this city can muster. She laughed, heart fluttering like snow globes confetti. As long as you leave me room to stay anonymous about the magic part. Your secret's safe, he said, pulling her gently into his arms. But maybe someday, when people are ready to believe that love and climate share the same sky, we'll tell the longer version. Nimbus circled their feet, tail thudding approval. Outside, a single crimson snowflake drifted past the window. Last echo of her earlier despair transformed by the new globe's balancing glow. It melted on the sill, leaving a pinprick ruby droplet that caught the light like a promise. Ingrid rested her head on Gabe's shoulder and listened to his heartbeat, steady, barometric, matching the globe's subtle swirl. For the first time, she felt the weather inside her calm to a gentle, sustainable breeze. A forecast she wanted to share, to co-author, day after unfolding day. Downtown church bells chimed 8. Gabe picked up the globe, turning it so dawn glinted off the miniature couple. Ready to make this public? Which part? Ingrid asked. He winked. The part where Minneapolis gets the nicest winter of its life. Hand in hand, they stepped onto the wet sidewalk where puddles mirrored a clearing sky. Ingrid inhaled cool air spiced with cedar and coffee. Gabe tipped his face toward a sunrise that looked suspiciously like melted sunstone. The future stretched before them, as uncertain and breathtaking as any 7-day outlook, and together they walked into it, two forecasters of a new shared climate where love would forever have a say in the weather.